All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as the Niners are still feeling good the day after they beat the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. All right, let's get into it. Kyle Shanahan, that was a big win for Kyle Shanahan's Coach of the Year candidacy, something that he doesn't care a whole lot about. But Kyle has now got the second best odds to win Coach of the Year. He's plus 150. So Mike Vrabel, the head coach of the Patriots, is the favorite. He's at plus 120. But Shanahan has moved ahead of the, Ben Johnson's not on this list. Mike McDonald of the Seahawks is on the list at plus 700. He's the third best odds. So Vrabel right now is at plus 120. Shanahan's at plus 150. And Mike McDonald at plus 700 for Coach of the Year. Interesting stuff there for sure. PFF has got their grades out the day after, and Luke Farrell is the highest graded 49er offensive player, and Keon White was the highest graded defensive player. He had 2 pressures. Niners had 16 pressures overall in the game, 0 sacks on the quarterback, but Keon White's playing well, and White got the highest defensive grade, and Luke Farrell got the highest offensive grade. Adam Schefter went on the Pat McAfee show, and of course, the day after the game, he was talking 49ers today. And let's hear, first of all, he told us that Fred Warner is a long shot to play this year, which, I told you that weeks ago, that Fred Warner was a long shot to play this year. I don't think it's in his best interest. I don't think it's necessarily in the team's best interest to have him out there. These injuries, you need to give them the proper amount of time to heal. I understand why he wants to be out there, but I got to say it's like 2% chance that he makes it back. And to me, it would be like for the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl only. But we'll see. We'll see. There's people talking more positively about the chances of Fred playing this year. Let's hear from Adam Schefter, though. He also talked a little bit about George Kittle and Trent Williams and their injuries and how they may, what their status may be going forward.
Trent Williams last night pulled a hamstring. Do we have any update on that? He was obviously out in space blocking, which is what he does. He's like greatest tackle in generation, might be greatest tackle of all time. I know there's others, Joe Thomas, I believe. I'm missing the 2 names. I'm so sorry.
Randall Pace,
like there's people up there in the convo, but they're saying Trent. Yep. Trent is in that convo. And obviously what the Niners look like with him versus without him stats-wise, even though they win last night, not great. What should we be expecting from him? And then also George Kittle as the Niners make a push for the number 1 overall seed.
Kittle is going to push to come back this week. He never tested it last week at all. They weren't going to play him on Sunday night, so he didn't go out there. He was out. He'll have a chance to be back this week, Saturday night against Seattle. Trent Williams went out of the game, didn't come back. Older veteran player, tough on a hamstring. I think if you're the 49ers, you probably want to see if you can get that bye, give him 2 weeks off, and then bring him back if that's possible. Now, again, they'll see how the hamstring's feeling this week, see if he's got any chance. I think it'll be tough for him to come back on a short week with a hamstring injury that prevented him from playing. But here's the great part for the 49ers is they give him veteran rest days during the season. So the young left tackle that they brought in last night, he's kind of used to that. He's not Trent Williams. Nobody is. But at least he had gotten some reps during the season because they were giving those rest days during the practice week to Trent Williams.
All right, there you go. There's a little bit of Adam Schefter on George Kittle and Trent Williams. The Niners may go with Austin Pleasance against Seattle. Wow, that would really be a struggle for Pleasance, you would think, against Seattle's incredible edge rushers, but we'll see. And then, of course, Kittle's got the ankle, so we'll see if he can come back. It's considered a low ankle sprain. I think Kittle's probably going to give it a go because I don't think, I think he'll, the importance of this game, I think he's going to give it a go. If Trent can't go, Trent hasn't had a lot of hamstring injuries, so this was all going to be about the severity and his ability to bounce back. Hamstrings can be a recurring thing, and you don't want to lose Trent Williams for the playoffs. You're already in the playoffs, so heck, if you can somehow get through this next game with Austin Pleasance and win it, that would be the ideal scenario because then you'd have, Trent basically barely played this week against the Bears and then didn't play against Seattle and then doesn't play the next week, that would be the ideal circumstance if somehow you could play Austin Pleasants and still beat the Seahawks in Week 18. All right, Kurt Warner weighed in on Brock Purdy, went on the Rich Eisen show, and let's hear what Warner had to say about the 49ers franchise quarterback. It's funny, everybody's saying, who does Brock Purdy remind you of? He reminds me a lot of Fran Tarkenton. He reminds me a lot of Russell Wilson, who reminded me a lot of Fran Tarkenton. So to me, I see Fran Tarkenton when I see Brock Purdy. But let's hear from Kurt Warner and what he told Rich Eisen.
We're back at Brock Purdy. Let's jump into Sunday night. Holy crap! What a game! That was incredible. Let's jump into Sunday night. Holy crap! What a game! That was incredible. I started the show, Kurt, by saying I feel like I'm coming on the air on every Monday saying that was the game of the year. No, that was the game of the year. But this Sunday, this was a game of the year. The quarterback play. How did you see it from Purdy and Caleb? Let's start with the winning quarterback and Brock Purdy, Kurt.
I mean, Brock's playing really good football. I mean, I've been a huge fan of Brock's. I don't know if it's the fact that he's from Arizona, so I got some ties there. Or he played in Iowa, and I got some ties there. Or just the fact that he was Mr. Irrelevant, and I was a free agent guy that nobody expected anything from, or because we were limited. Like so many similarities between the two of us. But I think to me, it's just we've lost sight, to some degree that you can play this position at an extremely high level without just being a freak athlete or having this freak physical ability. That there is still, at the heart of this position is the ability to see what a defense is doing, understand how to make different throws, have a sense of anticipation and timing within what you're trying to do and what the defense is doing. That is an art form and is a unique talent. When I was playing, that was the main talent. Now that's not the main talent that we see at the quarterback position, but guys that can do it like a Joe Burrow and like a Brock Purdy and that can do it well. I sit back and appreciate that aspect of things. And so watching Brock, and maybe it has something to do with the fact that is the way that I played. And so that is still the way that I see the game. But I truly appreciate guys that do those things and do it on a consistent basis. And, where it doesn't look like this wow throw, I'm often wowed by throws that Brock makes just because I know the nature of what they're asking him to do and how tough it is to, make a 16-yard throw and have to throw it up over a linebacker and drop it in under a safety on a consistent basis. It may not look impressive, but those things are impressive because not everybody in the league can do those things. Even the guys that have great arms and that can, run fast 40s. And so there's just an appreciation for how he plays the game and his understanding of the game that I enjoy watching every time out there. And I probably enjoy it too, because he's proving that, there's different ways to still be really successful in the NFL as a quarterback. And that the drop back passer or the guys that, play with anticipation and with their mind first can't succeed in the NFL anymore. And I fully disagree with that. And I look at guys like Joe Burrow and Brock Purdy and say, not only can you succeed, you can succeed at the highest level doing those things. You don't have to necessarily have, Jared Goff is another guy, you don't necessarily have to have, all these physical traits that are awesome. And, great to have a quarterback that can do all those things, but you don't necessarily have to be, otherworldly in that regard to succeed at the NFL level if you can do these things that I'm talking about. If you can do these things that I'm talking about. Trent Williams, let's jump into Sunday night.
All right, so there you go. There's a little bit of Kurt Warner with Rich Eisen on Brock Purdy. And, some quick thoughts on that. First of all, I'm 55, and so I saw Joe Montana. And so Joe Montana was not the biggest player. He was not the fastest player. He was fast. He was athletic as hell. But what made Joe Joe was his brain and his competitiveness, and you can't see necessarily his brain. You can't necessarily see his competitiveness, or if you can, it takes time to see those things. And so now I guess we shouldn't be surprised that most Niner fans don't see the brilliance of Brock Purdy because they're so used to, the strong-armed quarterback or the incredible athlete Mahomes, and they're looking for somebody like a Mahomes or a Josh Allen. But the reality is, and as time goes on, there's fewer and fewer people that saw him with Joe Montana. I mean, I'm 55, as I said. I saw him, but I was 10. I was 10 years old. I was 11 years old in 1981 when he got it rolling. So, there are Niner fans, every Niner fan that's under the age of 50, don't know Joe Montana. So all the people in their 40s didn't see Joe Montana. All the people in their 30s didn't see Joe Montana. All the people in their 20s didn't see Joe Montana. All the people in their late teens obviously never saw Joe Montana. And so they don't have that quarterback that processed perfectly, that was accurate, that was insanely competitive. All those same traits that Brock Purdy has, Joe had. So like guys like us who are seen Joe are like, yeah, this guy reminds me a lot of Joe. That's who he reminds me of. He reminds me of Fran Tarkenton. He reminds me of Russell Wilson, but he's a lot like Joe Montana. He's not the biggest guy, not the strongest guy, but he's big enough. He's strong enough. He's fast enough. He's accurate enough. He processes enough. And so I guess we shouldn't be surprised that many people under the age of 50 really are like, don't know what to make of Brock Purdy because they didn't see Joe Montana. They don't realize that what they're seeing is a lot of the same traits that Montana had when he played. Joe Montana beat his generation's stud quarterback in the Super Bowl in Dan Marino. Dan Marino had the big arm. Dan Marino had the big stature. Dan Marino was your Josh Allen minus mobility. He was your Patrick Mahomes minus some athleticism. He was the guy. But Joe beat him in the ultimate game, partially because Joe had the better team, but also partially because Joe was the better quarterback. So there you go, some Kurt Warner on Brock Purdy. But Warner made one good point there. He said, hey, you guys know me. I've been a Brock Purdy backer for a while. Another guy who's not been a Brock Purdy backer for a while is Colin Cowherd. In fact, he's been the anti-Brock Purdy. Shanahan's awesome, and Purdy's just a product of Shanahan. That's Colin Cowherd. Mac Jones is just as good as Shanahan, or just as good as Purdy in Shanahan's system. Every possible way that Colin Cowherd could slight Brock Purdy over the last couple of years, he's done it. So what was he saying after this Monday Nighter? Let's hear from Colin Cowherd.
This is why you hire offensive coaches. Between Ben Johnson and Kyle Shanahan, 900 yards of offense. Both were great on third down, great in the red zone, efficient, smart play calling, young quarterbacks being the beneficiary, Brock and Caleb, of really bright guys. Now, yes, I always thought Brock Purdy had talent, but I thought he was very dependent on Shanahan and Christian McCaffrey, but he didn't have Kittle last night. He didn't have left tackle Trent Williams. He hadn't had Brandon Ayuk all year. And last night, he was attack with mobility, with accuracy. Yeah, he threw a pick six. I've told you for years, Brady threw pick sixes in Super Bowls he's won. Yes, he threw another interception and got a bit of an officiating break in the end zone. I like this Purdy. Attack, aggressive. I thought the last 3 weeks is as well as he's ever played. You can win a Super Bowl with this quarterback play. Yeah, you're going to have a pick six. I defend Darnold. I defended Andrew Luck. Peyton Manning and Elway threw picks. This one I like. Now, did Mac Jones and Garoppolo also look great with Shanahan? Yeah. Matt Ryan won an MVP with Shanahan, but everybody's got help. Mahomes has Andy Reid. Elway had Shanahan. Marino had Shula. Brady had Gronk, Edelman, Belichick's defense. So San Francisco has been very reliant, regardless of the quarterback in the last 5-6 years, with George Kittle. He wasn't around last night. Trent Williams, also incredibly important. Great left tackle. Still at this age, great left tackle. He wasn't around last night. So you don't really have your deep threat in Brandon Ayuk. So instead of just being a really talented passenger, which has always been my take on Purdy, he's talented. I mean, you can watch him play 2 quarters. He's talented, but he's mostly been a driver, a passenger. Last night, he was the driver of the offense. I thought he was fantastic. Now, could he stay healthy? He gets dinged up. Now he's got to play Seattle's defense. He's not going to have all night to throw like you saw last night. I mean, Dennis Allen, I'm not sure what that defensive game plan was. But if you got open last night, Jennings, Kyle Juszczyk, the backup tight end, it just didn't matter. If you got open, Brock Purdy found you. And this year, Purdy, banged up some of it, is 7-1 with a 104 passer rating. And in the last month, once the toe got healthy, there's no disputing it. The last 6 weeks, this is the healthiest, best Brock Purdy we've ever seen. He's not just stabilizing. He's elevating. He's pulling the offense, which is missing a Hall of Fame left tackle, which last night's missing a first ballot Hall of Fame tight end. It's always been my question. I mean, Mac Jones came in this year as a backup, looked spectacular. Garoppolo was 38-17. He left Shanahan, he disappeared. Matt Schaub made a Pro Bowl. Every quarterback looks good. They didn't look this good. This is the best quarterback play, maybe outside of the Matt Ryan MVP season, but you didn't get much mobility there. This is the best quarterback play in the last month that Kyle Shanahan's ever received.
That was it. All right, there you go. A little Colin Cowherd. And, it's funny. That was even reluctant praise on Brock Purdy. The bottom line, and it's like, I don't know why people can't see this. Brock Purdy elevates the Niners. He's not elevated by the Niners. He elevates the Niners. He plays better football and elevates the rest of the team. He's propped up by the Avengers. Really? No. Debo, gone. Ayuk hasn't done anything. Ricky Pearsall, first-round draft choice wide receiver, 0 touchdowns. Kittle, no Kittle to be seen last night. No Trent Williams to be seen last night. No defense to be seen last night. And Brock Purdy elevated the Niners. Put him on his back, and he's playing incredible football. He's in his super prime. This is what we saw from him in the summer, and this is what he is. So there you go. A couple other notes. Curtis Rourke is practice squad window. This 3-week practice squad window was opened and closed, so he reverts back to the NFI list. So essentially, Curtis Rourke done for the year. Niners coaches sound very impressed by what Rourke showed in those practices, but he was always a 2026 play. Austin Pleasance, by the way, at left tackle against the Bears, allowed 2 pressures and 1 sack in 37 pass blocking opportunities. Jair Brown really struggled for the Niners. 47 coverage snaps. He was targeted 7 times. He gave up 107 yards and 2 touchdowns and a 141.4 passer rating when targeted. From what I can tell, the Niners looked like they opened as a 1.5-point favorite to beat the Seahawks in Week 18, but now Seattle looks like they are 1.5-point favorites to beat the Niners. So all I would say to 49er fans is you may want to bet it early, because something tells me that that's going to work its way towards a pick 'em before long. And right now you've got a 1.5 that you can have if you bet the 49ers. So there you have it, a full breakdown of everything that happened in Ninerland on a Monday. We'll do a little report after Rams-Falcons. The Monday Night Football game wraps up. We'll do another video kind of breaking down some notes after that one. But thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to Sleeper for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.